The Soft Revolution. Why Losing Everything Taught Me How to Finally Live. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we unlearn survival and rediscover softness. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dolce, like sweet softness whispered in French. And today I'm bringing you something that will shift the way you think about loss, about resilience, about what it means to reclaim your voice in a world that keeps trying to silence it. I recently had the honor of sitting down with Carla Cardriche, a melanated woman who has spent 20 years in healthcare and 10 years in wellness, navigating space that weren't designed for her voice, her presence, or her power. Carla Cardriche is making the world a better place by showing us that resilience isn't about being unbreakable. It's about learning to rebuild again and again with grace. Her story is a testament to the strength that blooms after loss, the wisdom passed down through maternal love, and the courage it takes to demand a platform when the world keeps trying to eliminate your presence. Today, I'm sharing the insights from our conversation, and I promise you, by the end of this, you're going to feel something shift. Here's the thing about loss: it doesn't knock politely, it doesn't send a calendar invite. It just shows up uninvited and rearranges your entire existence. And for so many of us, especially as Black women, loss isn't just about grief, it's about survival. It's about figuring out how to keep going when the ground beneath you has crumbled and everyone is still expecting you to show up smiling, capable, unshaken. Carla Cardriche knows this intimately. Losing her parents, especially her mother, wasn't just a moment of sorrow. It was a turning point, a moment that forced her to ask, "What now?" And instead of collapsing under the weight of that question, she channeled the lessons her mother instilled in her, the values that had been woven into her spirit like golden thread, and she moved forward, not because she had to be strong, but because she chose to honor what had been given to her. And here's what I find so beautifully ironic: we live in a world that celebrates strength, that applauds the woman who never breaks, who never falters, who carries the weight of the world on her shoulders without complaint. But what Carla taught me is that real strength isn't about never breaking, it's about knowing how to rebuild. It's about allowing yourself to fall apart and then deciding with intention what pieces you're going to pick back up and what pieces you're going to leave behind. Let me tell you about someone else who understands this kind of loss: Carla van den Brink, a Dutch woman who in 1972 lost her husband and was left to raise two young children alone in a world that didn't believe women belonged in real estate. The industry was dominated by men who saw her as a widow, not as a potential competitor. They underestimated her. And that was their first mistake. She didn't let that stop her. She gained experience at firms like Coke Group, learning the game from the inside, studying the market, understanding the players. And in 1979, she co founded her own agency with Anne Marie Groot, becoming one of the first female entrepreneurs in Amsterdam's real estate sector. She built a reputation for style, honesty, and a sharp focus on high end buying and selling. She trained agents who went on to become successful in their own right. She left an indelible mark on an industry that tried to ignore her. And here's what I love about her story: she didn't do it by being loud or aggressive or by trying to outman the men. She did it by being excellent, by being undeniable, by showing up again and again until the world had no choice but to make space for her. She didn't ask for permission, she simply refused to be erased. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what Carla Cardriche has been doing for 30 years. Navigating healthcare and wellness as a melanated woman in America, facing racial tensions, microaggressions, and systems designed to eliminate her presence or minimize her impact. But she adapted. She surprised herself in treacherous situations. She turned challenges into growth opportunities. And she did it all while carrying the wisdom of her mother, the lessons that said, you are worthy, you are capable, you are enough. Now, let's talk about what happens when a young girl loses her mother and decides to turn that grief into a gift for the world. Amari Robinson was 10 years old when her mother passed away. Her mother had homeschooled her, teaching her Black history that wasn't in textbooks, filling her mind with stories of resilience, brilliance, and triumph. Stories of inventors and activists and leaders who changed the world but were never given the credit they deserved. And when her mother died, Amari realized something. Most people didn't know these stories. Most people had no idea about the contributions, the inventions, the movements led by Black people throughout history. So at 17, she created Betcha Didn't Know, a multimedia brand with a podcast, an app, and a book. She used her software engineering skills to build an interactive platform with maps and timelines that now has nearly 5,000 users. She created a podcast highlighting 57 influential Black women. She made Black History fun, accessible, and engaging for kids who needed to see themselves reflected in greatness. And here's the thing, Amari didn't wait for permission. She didn't wait for someone to give her a platform. She built one, just like Carla Cardriche built hers, just like Carla Vanden Brink built hers, because that's what we do. When the world says no, we say, watch me. When the world says you don't belong, we say, I'm building my own table. But let's be real for a second. Building a platform, demanding space, showing up in rooms that weren't designed for you, that takes a toll. It's exhausting, it's lonely. And sometimes it feels like no matter how hard you work, no matter how excellent you are, the perception barriers remain. Carla Cardriche has faced this for decades. 20 years in healthcare, 10 years in wellness, and still she's had to fight to be seen, to be heard, to be valued because biased perceptions don't just create obstacles, they deny opportunities. They make you question whether your voice even matters. They make you wonder if you're imagining it all, if you're being too sensitive, if maybe you should just be grateful for the crumbs you've been given. But here's what I learned from Carla Cardriche: your voice doesn't just matter, it demands a platform. And when you show up with authenticity, with resilience, with the wisdom of those who came before you, you earn that platform. Not because the world is fair, but because you refuse to be silenced, because you know that your voice carries the voices of your ancestors, your mother, your grandmother, every woman who came before you and didn't have the opportunity to speak. Let me introduce you to one more woman who embodies this: Carla Johnson, a Black CEO, best selling author, and keynote speaker known as the Innovation Architect. She spent decades fighting the myth that innovation is only for the elite, that creativity belongs to a select few in corner offices with fancy degrees. As a Black woman in corporate and creative fields, she's had to counter status quo thinking, underwhelming results born from bias, and systems that tried to box her in, to make her smaller, to convince her that her ideas weren't valuable. But she didn't let that stop her. She wrote a best selling book called Rethink Innovation. She travels the world giving electrifying talks that reframe artificial intelligence as a partner, not a threat, and turn employees into innovators. She democratizes innovation, making it accessible to underrepresented voices who've been told they don't belong in those conversations. She proves over and over again that brilliance doesn't have a color, a gender, or a zip code. It just needs a chance. And that's the thread that ties all of these stories together. Carla Vanden Brink, Amari Robinson, Carla Johnson, Carla Cardriche, women who faced loss, who faced bias, who faced systems designed to keep them out, and who said, not today, women who reinvented themselves, who channeled the wisdom of those who came before them, who built platforms where none existed, women who turned survival into something sacred. So here's what I want you to take away from this: Three things that I learned from Carla Cardriche that I believe will change the way you move through the world. First, resilience through reinvention. As a melanated woman in America, Carla Cardriche's ability to adapt and surprise herself in treacherous situations shows that inner strength can turn challenges into growth opportunities. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to evolve. You just have to be willing to look at the pieces of your life that have shattered and ask, what can I build with this? What new version of myself is waiting to emerge from this rubble? Second, the legacy of maternal lessons. Losing her parents, especially her mother, channeled profound wisdom forward, proving that instilled values endure and guide us beyond loss. The people we love don't leave us. They live in the choices we make, the boundaries we set, the grace we extend to ourselves. They live in the way we show up for others, the way we honor our own needs, the way we refuse to shrink. And third, overcoming perception barriers in healthcare and wellness. With 30 years of experience, Carla Cardriche highlights how biased perceptions create or deny opportunities, yet a resonant voice demands and earns a platform. You don't need permission to be excellent. You just need to show up. You just need to trust that your voice, your experience, your perspective is valuable, even when the world tries to convince you otherwise. Now, I know some of you are listening to this and thinking, okay, LeAnne, that's beautiful, but what do I actually do with this? How do I take these stories and apply them to my life? Here's how. This week, I want you to identify one treacherous situation in your life, one space where you feel unseen, unheard, undervalued. Maybe it's at work, where your ideas are ignored until a man repeats them. Maybe it's in your family, where you're expected to be the strong one, the caretaker, the one who never needs support. Maybe it's in your own mind where you've internalized the message that your needs don't matter, that rest is selfish, that softness is weakness. And I want you to channel a maternal or ancestral lesson. What would your mother say? What would your grandmother say? What wisdom has been passed down to you that you've been too afraid or too tired to use? Maybe it's the lesson that you are worthy of rest. Maybe it's the lesson that your voice matters. Maybe it's the lesson that you don't have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders to be valuable. And then I want you to take one bold reinvention step. Advocate for your voice in a biased space. Say no without guilt. Set a boundary without apology. Rest without explanation. Do something that honors the woman you're becoming, not the woman the world has tried to make you. Do something that would make your mother proud. Do something that would make your ancestors smile. Because here's the truth: softness is not weakness, it's a radical act of self love. And when you choose softness, when you choose rest, when you choose to honor your own voice, you're not just changing your life, you're changing the world. You're showing the next generation of Black women that they don't have to carry the cape. They don't have to be strong all the time. They can be soft and whole and free. Carla Cardriche taught me that. She taught me that loss doesn't have to be the end of your story, it can be the beginning. She taught me that the wisdom of our mothers, our ancestors, our elders, it doesn't die with them. It lives in us, it breathes through us. It guides us when we're lost and reminds us of who we are when the world tries to make us forget. And she taught me that even when the world tries to silence you, your voice will find a way. Because a resonant voice doesn't ask for permission, it demands a platform, and it earns one. Not by being loud, not by being aggressive, but by being authentic, by being undeniable, by showing up again and again until the world has no choice but to listen. So here's my challenge to you: Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the world to tell you that you're ready, that you're worthy, that you're enough. You already are. You always have been. The only thing standing between you and the life you deserve is the belief that you need someone else's approval to claim it. Identify that one treacherous situation, channel that ancestral wisdom, take that bold reinvention step, and watch what happens. Watch how the world shifts when you refuse to shrink. Watch how opportunities appear when you stop apologizing for taking up space. Watch how your voice becomes a force when you finally give yourself permission to use it. Because the world doesn't need another woman who's learned to survive. The world needs you in your full, soft, powerful, authentic glory. The world needs your voice, your vision, your wisdom. The world needs you to stop playing small and start building the platform you deserve. Carla Cardriche did it. Carla Vanden Brink did it. Amari Robinson did it. Carla Johnson did it. And now it's your turn. Your soft girl era isn't a trend, it's a lifestyle rebellion. And it starts right now.